What do you mean it takes time and effort to change? Let's talk about it. This is Bite Size Theology. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bite Size Theology, a ministry of Springfield First, where we tackle big topics around faith, one bite at a time. I'm your host, Allison Means, and today I'm joined by Roger Grimmett. And we are talking about small steps to big changes.
That is a great topic.
It is, because it's hard.
It is very hard. I think of a scripture, Allison, that most of the time doesn't get quoted, but it's from Zechariah 4:10 that says, "Do not despise small beginnings or small steps, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin."
Oh.
So that is a great scripture.
That is a great scripture. And yes, not one that we talk about very much.
Right.
But how perfect for what we're talking about.
It is. And I would say that at the beginning of 2024, you might remember this, Justin and I did a sermon series on habits. It was like in the new series of the year for 24. And we did a lot of, I did some referencing out of a book by James Clear called Atomic Habits, and how real meaningful that is and was, because when you think about it, it's all about those daily small steps that we all need to take to be able to ultimately accomplish the goals that we have in our lives. But it begins with small steps.
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of times we have a patience problem, right? We want to just snap our fingers and be transformed. And unfortunately, it does not work that way.
It does not work that way. And I think also, to go along with that, Allison, after a while, people not only get fatigued, but they begin to lose interest. And I think by beginning small, and here in a little bit, I want to give you a couple examples of what that is. So first of all, when you think about the word atom, it's the smallest particle of matter. So I think that was intentional that Clear had that in this book, because oftentimes we have these big, audacious goals, but then we get overwhelmed because they're too huge, and we can't accomplish it because we don't learn the fact that we've got to break it down into small, practical steps.
Yeah.
So I'd like to give an example of that, if I could.
Love an example.
In his book, Clear talks about something called habit stacking, where you stack one habit on top of another, and over time it becomes sort of second nature. So I've got an example of that in my own life, and let me say right at the outset, I'm far from perfect in accomplishing goals, but I do attempt to put practices into place. So there's two things that I do that reflect that habit stacking. The first thing is probably 5-6 days a week, I go and work out first thing in the morning. And it's become like second nature to me. And so I'll go and work out, and then I'll come back, I'll take a shower, I'll get a cup of coffee, and I always have my quiet time. And I'll pray and meditate, and then that'll lead me into study of Scripture and Bible reading. And so one habit then stacked upon another. And I believe what happens, Allison, over time is with that consistency, a person then begins to see transformation and change by doing it on a consistent basis.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about transformation and change that you could see, going to work out 5 to 6 times a week.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you work out once a week, or like just here and there, you're not going to see results like you will if you are consistent.
Absolutely.
So that's a great example of a visible one.
Yes.
And then I love that you've made this little routine for yourself.
Where it then kind of leads into something else, and then working together, that then I begin to see kind of changes in my own life. And it's not just about the weight part of it. I mean, certainly I could stand to lose weight, but it's about just the feeling that I get and the confidence that I get from working out, which then leads to just kind of that feeling good about myself and knowing that I'm doing it on a consistent basis as well as my quiet time.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say there's days I miss. So, I mean, there's grace for all of us, but consistency, I think, wins the race every time.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I can apply that for me as a musician. Like,
Yes.
I recently learned to play guitar, where I did not play at all.
Yes.
And you have to be so consistent. And it's not fun at first.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing I think that a lot of people have a
Yeah.
hard time with too, is like the novelty wears off.
Yes.
And then you've got to power through until you start to feel or see the benefits of it. Like playing guitar for a while, it hurts. It physically hurts your fingers from pressing down strings. But once you have been consistent enough, because if you're not, you don't build those calluses
That's right.
on your fingers, it'll just keep hurting if you're not
Yeah.
consistent. But once you do, and you get those basic skills, built up, then you go, oh my gosh, I can play a song.
Yeah.
And yeah, all of a sudden it's more fun.
Yes.
But you have to go through the less fun part to get to the fun part.
Absolutely. And I think what's so cool about this is that we can celebrate daily wins. You don't have to wait till you reach a certain goal to celebrate. If you're consistent on a daily basis with your habits, those then can become wins in your life where you feel like you're making progress, and then you're less likely to give up because you're seeing a win each and every day.
Yeah, they talk about, there's an acronym with like measurable goals. And I think that's important because, it's good to take stock of things every so often and go,
Absolutely.
Hey, I did that.
Yes. And it makes a huge difference. And I think that then ties into, and we talk about this a lot, in church and whatnot, is what Romans 12 says, do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And then as a person experiences that, then there are other areas in your life that you want to tackle because you've experienced success in one or two.
Yeah.
Because it makes the rest of your life a little bit better. And I think that's what we're after. We want to be better so that we can serve the Lord even better.
Yeah, absolutely. If we're talking about, spiritual discipline, or we're talking about resisting temptation,
Yes.
If you have something that you're struggling with, and you do the hard work to say no or walk away or whatever it is, it's good to celebrate that.
Yes, it is.
And then after a while, maybe you've said no to it, you've walked away, you've resisted that temptation for a week.
Yeah.
Celebrate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. And I think, God puts these kind of desires in our hearts. In fact, the scriptures say that God will give us the desires of our heart. So I believe that, God puts this desire in our heart to improve, to get better. And in fact, I've always believed that we can either get bitter or we can get better, in life. And I want to try to get better each and every day. And I think then God is pleased with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And knowing that you are choosing to walk a path
Yes.
that is, directing you towards God.
Absolutely.
Might be hard, but ultimately feels good.
It does feel good.
Might not feel good in the moment.
Right.
Because sometimes that other option is easier or would be more fun or what have you. But I think you get to the other side of it, and you're glad
Yes.
that you made those series of small decisions
Absolutely.
that led you closer to the Lord.
And Allison, and we all go through this, the challenges of living, and it's easy to get into kind of a rut.
Oh, yeah.
Where then it seems like, you're stuck. But I think that, God doesn't want us to stay there. And he gives us ways in which through the support of other people also,
Absolutely.
as well as the support and encouragement of the scriptures. He gives us what we need to be able to get out of that rut and to get out through that dry season so that we can kind of like get started again.
Oh, yeah. I think it is really important that you are, if you are on, this transformational journey.
Yes.
We were never meant to do it all by ourselves.
there's no way.
We're created for community.
Yes.
And so that's a great thing to do with a small group.
Absolutely.
If it's like Bible study that you're wanting to be
Yep.
more consistent with, try a small group.
Yes.
That's like the whole point.
Yes. Yeah.
If it's a physical fitness thing, great. Find somebody to go to the gym with you. If you're wanting to spend more time in prayer, have somebody else who's on that
Yes.
same journey, and you can be accountable to one another.
And I'm glad you brought up that word accountable, because to me, that's what sustains it.
Yeah.
Because we can have in our minds things that we want to accomplish, how we want to improve, maybe learn a new skill, take on a new challenge, whatever it is. But what's going to sustain that over the long haul is not just through ourselves. It's going to require somebody else's support.
Absolutely. And sometimes that other person is the one that says, hey, it's been 1 week. Good job. You may not feel
Yes.
that yourself. And
Yes.
sometimes it takes that other person to help you celebrate.
Yeah, I love that.
And not just to call you out
Yep.
when you're not.
And that's the encouragement we all need. In fact, the Bible talks about do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together, but encourage one another, and all the more as the day of Christ approaches. So in order for us to be the best version of ourselves, and I know we hear that a lot, but it's still true, we need the support of the church. We need the support of other believers to be able to keep us going, and just to have that built-in accountability. And then those small steps then lead to huge impacts, because they then give us the impetus, I think, to want to try new things for Jesus.
Yeah.
So,
The journey of 1,000 miles starts with
Yeah.
a single step,
yes,
right?
I love that. Yes.
I don't remember who to attribute that quote to, but it is very true.
Sounds right. Yes. And Allison, I also have another scripture, Psalm 37:23. The steps of a good person are established by God, and he delights in his way. And so God establishes those steps that we take, and then goes with us and walks with us as we seek to accomplish them.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Yes.
Man, thanks for being here with me today,
has
Roger,
been
and
fun.
for talking about this. And I hope that we'll see you on the next Bite Size Theology. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Bite Size Theology, where we take big ideas about faith and break them down one bite at a time. We hope today's conversation has helped you grow in your understanding and sparked new insights on your journey of faith. If you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. And as always, if you have questions or you want to dive deeper into today's topic, feel free to reach out. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep growing.